Well, welcome and thank you for joining us. Today we'll be talking about career development. Hopefully you joined us for our first two sessions, overcoming performance management challenges and addressing new trends, and adapting to a continuous performance review process. Today we'll dive deeper into career development. My name is Stacy Grasberger. I'm a manager here at the Adduce Group. I've been working in the performance space for over 10 years, and I'd like to introduce my partner, Hendrik.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Hendrik Thomas. I've been with Cornerstone close to 11 years and have been working in the performance space for close to 10 years. I've helped dozens of clients build their performance review systems, but lately I shifted over to the exciting space about career development. And the main aim we have here is to help every employee to be in a career journey they love. As a side note, I hold also a PhD in data science, and my true passion is really to help to bring AI and ontologies, these smart technologies, to the HR space to help us all scale up our career development opportunities and help every single person in the company. Thank you.
One of the main things we'd like to talk about today are the differences between performance and career development and the importance of differentiating between the two. I know a lot of times we get questions around, well, what's the difference? Isn't it the same? And in reality, it's not. One of the main things that I always like to stress to our clients is that performance is usually shorter term results based. You know, there's a metric to it, there's results, and there's some sort of impact, whereas development is typically personal and unique to the individual. It's longer term. It's that career development. Where are you looking to go? Where are you looking to grow? And another thing I heard recently that I really loved was what has made us successful and then what will continue to keep us successful, to differentiate the difference from an organization perspective. And I'd love to get your take on it, Hendrik.
That's a really good point. It's a very important question. And the interesting bit, every one of us have to deal with that at least once a year. Performance reviews, and the focus has shifted over the years a bit. The prime purpose is really to collect data. It's all about the business needs and understanding how we can collect data about your performance. As you said, looking backwards, you made decisions about bonus compensation and succession. This is key purpose. We always had the point that we also introduced ideas about development, but the reality is that's a very separate conversation. And the more you can keep them separate, the more successful you are. As you pointed out, career development is about the employee's interest. It's the long-term need for them to grow and develop in their particular role. And as a result, you have benefits for the employee to stay motivated and engaged, but also at the other time, creating the necessary talents in the company to keep the company, to enable the company to create the necessary outcomes, but also to keep the company agile enough to respond to different needs in the market. I think that's what the career development is all about.
I would agree. And I think a lot of times, not necessarily on purpose, but I think sometimes development takes the back burner and it doesn't happen due to, business needs or business changes. So I know it's a struggle, but I know it's also something that's becoming to the forefront, is really developing people to make organizations successful. And what do you think, I guess, in your opinion, in your experience, why do you think organizations struggle implementing career development, and why do you think it's such a hard struggle to make it go to the front and make it a focus?
That's a fascinating topic. Over the last 2 years, I have done hundreds of interviews with admins, employees, and managers, and really to dive deeper into that space. And what became apparent, and it became very clear, is that employees simply lack clarity on their career opportunities. Employees don't know what their next role is and what to develop next. That uncertainty about career development has huge impact on employee engagement satisfaction. They simply don't feel motivated on that. And for companies, that translates back to productivity issues and most of all high churn. And they have to spend huge amount of money in order to replace employees due to a lack of career opportunities. For larger organizations, about 49 million every year. Companies are also struggling to the pain point that they really have tricky to make career development inclusive. This whole concept that career development is something, a right of every single employee, should be part of you and everyone should have the opportunity. It's really hard to scale it up because often you are limited by the number of HR people you have. And as a result, often there's only a limited number who provides and gets the support in their career development, which we call succession. The left of the vast majority of employees in a company are just left with the manager and have a conversation, but without much guidance. The other thing people struggle is career development must be iterative. The big successors, the big successful people don't focus on big career jumps, blind sprints from promotion to promotion. They're rather looking at smaller iterative improvements of their skills to honing their craft and to become really excellent in something. And that's actually really hard for a HR person to support, because that would mean that you have to support every single person in this career journey and in their skill growth. And very closely related to that is HR people have a particular challenge to make career development personal. We know the high performance and success is idiosyncratic, meaning that everyone is unique in their skill set and their strengths. And people who are really successful and really high performer have understood why they are different and why they are unique and cultivated the strengths accordingly. But it also would mean that from a career development perspective, you need to hone down and basically provide a specific, unique set of support for each individual person, because we're all different. And that makes it really a challenge, because managers and employees and HR don't have a language to even talk about that. And the time and effort needed on a manual level is just not scalable. And lastly, it's all about activating employees. We know career development is an important topic. At least once, we're always complaining about the lack of opportunity, clarity. Maybe not so much throughout the year, but its underlying impact will felt throughout the year. But the downside is, and the challenges, that the vast amount of our people, around 70% according on, are passive. They're just not doing about that. They're just waiting for the next opportunity to happen. And in many cases, the next opportunity comes up is from an outside company. It's funny enough, some admins complain it's easier to find a job outside the company than finding a new career path within the company. And that's very frustrating for both sides of the party. So the challenge is really to activate the employee to come to take charge of their own career. It's a mission people have, but how to do it is really tricky. A lot of people and companies are struggling on that. I think those together really represent the challenges companies have when it comes to career development.
I would agree. And I think the shift from, as you mentioned, the HR role to the manager and upskilling managers or leaders to be able to coach versus just manage. You need to be able to, I think, in the new career development space, you have to be able to coach and be there with them, but not pointing them necessarily or telling them what to do, and getting the employee to feel empowered to understand that, and then the manager take a step back and just coach and watch and maybe point them in the right direction, but not being as prescriptive. And I think a lot of people and a lot of organizations struggle without being prescriptive there. And as we were just talking about engaging passive employees, Hendrik, in your opinion and in your experience and research, how do you identify and build the right skills for employees? How do we help to coach our clients in that aspect?
That's a very interesting point. I think that's a rather difficult challenge, and employees need support on that, and the manager can play a key role here. It's not necessary as a manager from a top down to tell them what to do and tell them, I believe you need to develop that. It's actually much more a partner relationship, because all the manager needs to do is basically challenge the current view, help him understand and analyze that via continuous conversation. Meaning you need to create a deeper relationship with the employee to really understand what their skills and desires are, and then keep talking about it to really unpeel the layer of the onion, because a deeper understanding about what motivates you is really essential. This is actually quite challenging, because manager employees often don't have a necessary language to even talk about that. When we talk about skills and experience coming together, that is quite a challenging topic. In the HR world, we always talk about competency framework, these values, but they're just too abstract, not specific enough to the employee. And we talk back about the principles. Career development must be personal and specific. As a result, it needs to be really honed down onto you as an individual. And the manager's role is really to help this reflection, and sometimes even a little bit of a nudge to get the conversation going around that. But we can help with AI and ontologies in order to make the identification and the talking about skills a lot easier. The last thing also is worthwhile to know that the understanding about your skills and what you need to develop is never static. It's not like something you can do once and you have done it. It keeps evolving. And if you look back at this year in COVID-19, what HR people told me, it was a game changer for many people. You had to hire a lot more people with new skills you never hired before. And doing that required an understanding what these skills are, who has it, who's interested in that. There was a whole raft around it that just speed up this process a lot. Just to give you a little bit of an example how complex that particular topic can be is for myself. So I have a science background, so I deal a lot of data. And I'm really good at data and really good at manipulating data in Excel. But I hate it. So I don't want to do that all along. And as a result, a pathway that leads me down, for example, like a business analyst role would not be a good choice. I would not be happy. But on the other side, I like to share, I like to educate people what I've known and learned. So I like to talk to people and bring my knowledge across so we can both learn and be better from that. That requires for me to present. But as you can see, I'm not always as good because I'm just get way too excited about topics and talk too fast. So a product manager role, what I'm working in, is a good fit for me because I can do the things I like to do and I'm really happy with them. And as a result, I can be quite productive. But it is based on a skill I probably will never be really good at. And this is a fascinating dilemma. And it's unique to all of us. And we need to uncover that. And the manager can play a key role to help them. And the more you talk about it, the more likely you get these aha moments with the employees. And that helps them to transform from a passive person who has vague understanding what he even wants to a more active person because he gets a clear understanding of which direction and what things he want to do.
I think that's a great example too, in thinking around how people get so narrow in thinking of a skill and not broaden, being able to broaden it and look from a different perspective. And your leader can bring that and say, well, have you considered this skill in this sense, right? And then the light bulb comes on, and that's one of those moments where you say, oh, well, that's part of that skill. I didn't even consider that. So I think that's a really great point that most people forget. And in having the conversation and the coaching, I think that really helps. So I love that point. So here's something I have experienced this week. I actually had the pleasure of working with a career development group, and a lot of people were saying they don't have the time. And I was hearing they really didn't know how to be active in the role. So I would love to hear your perspective about how we encourage people to take the active role and how do they make the time, right? We were trying to express to them, it's not about taking, it's about making the time. But I'd love to hear your perspective and if there's any data to support that.
It's interesting you bring time up, and I think time is a general problem a lot of people bring up. It's just I have to run all the time just to get my job done. And this is a very dangerous assumption because there are two things. First of all, if you're just doing your job and you're developing, you will get frustrated and more disengaged over time. So you're hurting yourself. And it's not helping. It may be helping you to get a short-term outcome you're looking for, but not long-term. So you need to invest time in order to really focus on your long-term perspective on your career. There's no way around that. And from a manager perspective, I get the same feedback. I can't help my people. We always talk about work, and particularly this year has been totally crazy. So I can't help. Again, it's hurtful for them as well because they are quietly interested to develop all their people to create a well-balanced team that has the necessary skills you need today and tomorrow to be able to even create the outcome they're looking for. So both have this strong interest in order to develop their skills, but it's really hard. And I think the answer of that, if you have not enough time, it's focus. Make sure that the few times you're investing, actually invest on that time that you have the biggest impact on your career development. And if you take the first step and you see some progress, it's way more likely you can take the second, the third one. So you make these baby steps, but you need to start walking. And I think that's the biggest step. It's less about time, but just getting on the direction. And that's why we've done a lot of research and interviews. How do you actually structure that? How do you even get awareness in which direction you want to walk so you can start walking without feeling completely lost? And this desperate need on this clarity on career opportunities, you have to break down the different sub-problems. And one problem we already mentioned quite heavily, it's skill awareness. What skills do you even have? What skills I have? What interests do I have? How do you bring up? And we talked about that. This is the first thing. So it's not about time. It's just about the discussion around it and get the thinking process going. And you can do that all the time along your work or in your private life. And trust me, most people are doing that, maybe not focusing on it, but thinking about what skills do I need in order to be more successful in an area. Do I enjoy that? Is that something I would like to do more often? That's happening all the time, maybe on a hidden layer. I think that sums it up from a career development perspective. And it's all about you as an employee to take charge and change the culture. It's right, and you need to take it. But to do that, take the first step.
You have to start. You have to start somewhere.
That's true.
So I think that's perfect. Well, thanks for joining us today, and we look forward to our next video. We hope you'll join us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.